Hi, close friends. Create a video today, fam. Simple in that, as I mentioned in my Lisa Eldridge video, if you want to check it out, I can leave the link up above and down below. Wanted to combine a few of her Lurex liquid eyeshadows with Natasha Denona's gold palette and retro glam. What made me pick up retro glam was Anais being this sage or sagey gold green shade, as well as Titania. Do I have Titania's in the bay bag? I brought it along with me. I thought Titania just matched beautifully in my head to the gold palette. Now, the gold palette is no longer available. I know, shame on me, but I couldn't help but just imagine the combinations that these could have, as well as Pat's platinum bronze. Platinum bronze could be a moment too with gold, maybe. Oh my gosh. Or the star palette. Dude, too many things. Let's start off with Anais. I'm dying to know what Anais will look like with retro glam. And I think it's time for you to come in a little closer. That's enough. I usually like to apply the Lurex shadows without a primer, but you can. That might increase the longevity, the wear of the formula. So again, Anais is more of like a sage leaning. However, I think depending on what shades you pair this with will kind of bring out the undertone. Using my Sonergy Fusion blender, I think I should have applied the matte first, because now what will happen is when I take the matte through the crease, it might cover Anais a little bit, but I just wanted for you to take a look at the color itself first. And then let's head into retro glam. Faye could be a beautiful pairing, as well as fringe and sage evergreen. So let's see what we can do here. Maybe we can start off the look with Faye, taking my Traditions brush, the trio one in S3. It's more pointed than a typically designed blender, because I want to keep Faye more direct here in the crease so as to not cover up Anais too much, but we can apply more Anais if need be. So this allows for more accurate placement where I have more control here. That on its own is lovely. My goodness, it's cool toned, but the shine from Anais, ooh! And then we'll bring in a little bit of sage, and I'll tap that on the outer part of my lid, whisk it out, and blend that through with Faye a little bit. Take it here on the lower quarter of the lash line. What about a little too much? Oh, that's pretty. I want to then pair this with Marlin. Marlin is, let me see here. Compared to Oz, this has a little more of like a sagey green going on, overlapping sage and Anais over the border there to create a more pronounced gradient. But what I'll do now is apply more Anais on the mid lid, as well as bringing some to the inner part of the eye. I was gonna say something else, I don't even know. Tapping that now on the inner corner, bringing it up through the high arc here. Whoa, that is shiny. I like what's happening. Definitely, I think this just taupey undertone is so lovely. My goodness. Putting in a little bit more sage here on not just the quarter. I think I want to pull it all the way through. Yeah, make it really nice and smoky. Just a little blend there on the outer part of the lid. And what can we place now on the inner corner? I think we can introduce maybe Oscar. Oscar kind of reminds me of Faye. What's happening here on the lid, I feel like Oscar also is giving a little bit. But I think I want to go with Palladian, which is the light minty shade. I'm going to place that on the lower part of the inner corner of the lower lash line, and tapping some here around the inner corner and overlapping Anais with it. Anais is so shiny. Ooh, that's pretty. I'm going in with a little bit of evergreen here. This is the cream to powder. The brush is, I think, a little too soft for me to successfully pick this up. So let me switch to my Fusion Detail so that I could tap a little more here on the outer part of the lid, so it can have a heartier serving of that color. And I'll go in with Faye again and just hit the far borders here near the top just to smooth out that application. Ooh, that's pretty. I like that. What can we do now on the second eye? I think I want to, I think I want to use Jazzy. I think we're going to have a moment. Hold on. Let's place Jazzy on the inner and outer parts of the lid. This is going to present a lot more smoke, right? We're starting off strong from the get, pulling this through the crease and adding little by little. This is a metallic formula, very smooth. It blends fine all on its own without the presence of a matte, thing that makes it very versatile and also streamlines the application process, where if you wish to achieve or rather create a smoky eye with as little product or as little steps as possible, to rely just on one shadow, I think advantageous. Much like how I explained with Lisa's Liza shade, I mean, that on its own is just so beautiful, where it creates that dazzle on the eyes from the high reflect pigments in the formula, and the charcoal undertone adds smokiness quickly without all the transition stage, you know what I mean? And I'll take Jazzy as well under the lash line very softly. I could use a smaller brush to control the placement because this is a harder serving of color under the lash line. If you want it to keep it tighter, you will use a smaller brush. So I would recommend that, because if this is way too smoky for you on the lower lash line, I totally understand. But I love like that haze. I think it just adds beautiful character to the eyes. Now with Anais, right smack dab middle on the center. Okay. Ooh, that's gonna be pretty. And tapping that horizontally so it can overlap a little bit with Jazzy, and we can take care of the borders afterwards, meaning if I need to apply a little more Jazzy where Anais stops, then we can do that 100%. And tapping a little more here. Work quickly because these do set so as to not appear spotty on the eyes. Okay. We love it. We could also place a little bit here under the lash line, the center of it, but I think that's fine. All right, let's apply some lashes and I'll be right back. Here are the final looks combining Lisa's Anais and Natasha Denona's Retro Glam palette. This is my go-to combination. I'm sure there are many others potentially that we can do, but I am dying to now dive into the gold palette, combining that with Titania. And I also have the BK Beauty and Risa Does Makeup collab lashes in Day Club. Nice and light and flirty. You can see the length but doesn't cover the looks that we have on the lids. Anais is such a great go-to. And again, let me quickly swatch this shade with Oscar because they do look similar. Am I picking up the... Yes, I am. This is Anais. I'm going to show this on the camera shortly. And Oscar is the metallic shade here. So here we go. So Anais has more depth than Oscar. Oscar is a little more light. Yeah, so if you wanted a heartier serving of this like sage antique type of a moment and you happen to have Anais and Retro Glam, I think you will thoroughly enjoy the combinations, especially the shine that Anais delivers solo is extraordinary, and I think it just beautifully pairs with the greens in the palette, in that if you don't want all exclusively green but you just want that beautiful gradient from sage into like a lighter gold antique moment, and forget it, Anais with Jazzy, come on, it's just It's just so beautiful. I think Anais would look beautiful with Retro Glam as well, because even though we paired it with regular retro, even though we paired it with Retro Glam, the greens go well with it, but I think the burgundies will look phenomenal with it as well. I'm thinking Jude. Jude might have a little more like lavender lean to it. I could check it out. That might be for another video. But let's take this off and see what Titania and gold can do together. Titania. I think I want to set up the look first with the matte, because these mattes, they pack a punch. Let me grab Danesa's Color Fix Primer. Just dab a little bit on the eyes, especially since I removed the shadow with Bioderma. To have something on the lids, I think will just help these powders adhere better. We do want to prevent any splotchiness, you know. Going in with one of these, you know, they look the same in palette, but the undertones are different. That was my personal critique with gold palette, in that you had to be, or rather limit yourself with how many shades you combine, because when you combine like these, for instance, it's hard to make a distinction on the lids. Whereas if you just stuck to one at a time, you could actually see the color, since there's no interference with others with a similar shade. Let me start with this one first, and this has the overlay, sandstone. I'm gonna place sandstone here through the crease. This is more of like a neutral brown with a little bit of like yellow, I think. There's a slight yellowish undertone going on. I'm gonna whisk it out a little bit, see what that does. Maybe going in with the dark brown. I'm gonna tap that on the outer portion of my lid, and this is the region where my skin could get a little dry from the removing. To mitigate that, patting down and not swirling and twirling just yet will help the shadow appear more even. Yeah, so we like that. Let's stick to that. Grabbing my smaller brush to carry that dark brown shade here on the outer quarter, connecting what we have up top, and going back into sandstone just to further blend the edges. Maybe bring that blend a little higher. The S3 is like great for the crease because it's so precise, but it's not so stiff. It has really beautiful fluidity where it's easy to take the color through the crease and fluff it through, so it has a really nice gradient. All right, it's time. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Titania. Let me make sure I have the right one. Pulling this now over the lid. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yes. Let's tap. I'm tapping because I applied a lot, and just to control the distribution, you know, so it doesn't completely overwhelm the... So pretty. Maybe I could have paired this with a more neutral brown, but I think it's okay. We could try that on the other side. Tapping a little bit of log over the borders here, and then taking, and there's whooshing, we're whooshing through the crease. Oh yeah. Taking like, what is this, Kava? This super sparkly shade, or even more of like a gold. Well, here's the thing. Let me see. Sparks. Ugh, so many things in my hands. This could serve as a nice inner corner highlight because I think the gold, they're yellow. Not that it will clash. I want to try Sparks. Oh yeah. Sparks on the inner corner with Titania was a good move. And wrapping that down. And also to complete the lower lash line, I'll apply sandstone here and pull it across. That's pretty. Ooh, we like that. On the other side, maybe we could try this shade here. I think this has a cooler undertone. Okay, that's one. What about this one? Oh, maybe this one. That is Teak. Looking at this matte here, let me take my Sonia Traditions S3 and have Teak through the crease. I need to revisit the gold palette. It's pretty. It's so understated and I think just beautifully done with the different color mattes. Yes, they all look the same at face value, but they are distinct in the undertones. And using gold more just helps me become more acquainted with the palette, the shades that it has. Let me see here. And this Antique by itself, it's just so lovely on its own. It gives me beautiful smoke without it looking too overwhelming on the eyes. I'm gonna clean up here a little bit, okay? Because the S3 is a little thick for the lower lash line, but you know, we can make it work. Now with Titania again, but on Teak, I also want to experiment with maybe placing purposefully like a more yellow tone gold somewhere in here. I don't know where, but we'll see where creativity takes us. Tapping again through the crease just to have a little bit of control. Oh, that's pretty. I love how that looks with Teak. My gosh, this is so lovely. Titania is beautiful. I'm so happy I bought this color. I was on the fence, but man, what it's doing to me right now. I did say gold. We could do a few things. We could do this color on the inner corner, maybe. Do we want to do this color? But that's just like an overlay kind of a moment, right? We could do the duochrome. This is a duochrome. Remember this shade? Ooh, it's like a lime. We're gonna do that shade. We're doing it. Using a thicker, well not thicker, but one that is a little more stiff than my Little Traditions trio brush. Just so it could get a little more pickup there. And we could gently overlap that over Titania. Yes. I will take my smaller brush now with the gold shade because inviting it here on the lower inner, it is a little warm compared to Titania. Yes, yes. Let me pick a smaller brush. Where's my Refer 3? Well, I do have the 23, which is fine. It's smaller than 3, but perhaps a better choice since I want to keep this color tighter to the lash line. So there's a strong distinction here, or contrast, I would say, between the yellow gold and what Titania has on the lid. If you want to go more of a consistent route and maybe apply this color here from the palette, which kind of is giving me Titania vibes. So let me, I'm gonna swatch Titania here and then swatch this powder metallic from the palette. They're similar, 100%. So if you want it, you could apply this first and then all over the lid. And then apply Titania just on the center to add more dimension and light reflectivity. I think that'll be a beautiful addition. Dabbing a little bit of log here just on the outer parts of my lash line because I want a little more depth. Yes, I like the yellow. It's not terrible. I just, you know, I wanted to see what would happen, okay? I want to do a little more here because I feel like I can take this further across. Is this the right shade? I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing. Yes, I totally took I took the flaky version. It's fine, whatever. All right, I'm gonna change my lipstick, put on some lashes. I'll be right back. Here is our finished look combining Titania and the gold palette. I have to say this was my favorite combination. I knew Titania, well, that shade will match well with many Natasha Denona palettes, but the tones of the mattes from the gold palette, I feel, carry Titania in a beautiful way where it can be a simple approach. You don't have to apply 1,000 shades. You can just use one matte and then place Titania on the lid, maybe the dark brown, the log shade on the lash line, maybe just bring a little bit of black coffee. That's what I would do to create a little more intensity there. I have Finesse on, by the way. Now there's just all of a sudden a resurgence for the gold palette. Maybe Titania bridged that gap for me, really rekindled my love for it. Because first of all, the shade itself, the shine, is just unbelievable. The uniqueness of this antique gold shade is something that I adore. A shade that can be worn alone because the color itself can bring beautiful smokiness, elegance to the eye without being too much. It's so nuanced, but enough. Oh. And then to have this palette with all the shades that will just go beautifully with Titania, I can't even do it. So let me know, close friends, would you like to see a part 2 with Titania and the gold palette? I would love to know down below. Let me know. You want to poll? We'll figure it out together. Again, thank you always for your support. Hopefully I'll see you again soon, next time on a live. With that said, I'll see you here again.